Hello, and welcome to the Female Founder Friday podcast with me, Lindsay White. I'm passionate about helping female entrepreneurs be great leaders, build high-performing teams, and create inspiring workplace cultures through innovative talent programs and practices. Because when people feel like they belong at work, they deliver their very best and businesses thrive. The Female Founder Friday podcast is all about connecting with the most incredible female entrepreneurs to talk about their journey to creating their own business, the mistakes they've made along the way, and how they view their own leadership. And I'm challenging all of my guests this season to take my leadership style quiz. And during each episode, we'll be digging into their leadership style and how it impacts the way they lead in their life and their business. And if you're interested in learning more about your leadership style and want some of my top tips to help you lead more effectively, you can take the quiz right now. Just check out the show notes or head over to highvoltageleadership.ca and click on the button at the top of the page that says Take the Quiz. Then you can share your results, connect with my guests, and join the conversation on Instagram by following me at High Volt Leadership. This week, I'm excited to feature my friend, Melissa Burkheimer. She is the visionary CEO of Melissa Burkheimer Studios and the host of the Design Business Show. And she is a conversion design expert and branding strategist. And what she does is high converting stuff. This is truly creative. And I love that in her bio, she talks about she killed her parents' dream of becoming a pop star, but she really went on to create a virtual design and branding agency that actually fulfills her own dream of getting paid to be creative while being able to be flexible in her life as a mom and a partner and a head of a busy family. So let's get to the conversation with Melissa today. Hey, welcome everyone to the Female Founder Friday podcast. I have Melissa here with me today. Melissa, welcome. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Hi, it's so great to be here, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, it's absolutely a pleasure. And I know we had a chance to talk a little while ago. So I know a little bit about your story as a female founder, but I'd love to go into a little bit more detail today because I think it's a great story.
I got my start in business in 2011-ish. When I was I had graduated about 4 years before that from college with a degree in graphic journalism, which was my major. And I chose to stay at the job I had because I had small kids. I was pleasantly surprised with my now almost 21-year-old when I started college. So you can do the math and figure out how old I am.
Yeah.
And I got married and had baby number 2 after that. And I just really loved that I had flexible hours and I could work from home when it snowed and when I needed to. And that wasn't really a thing back then. You know what I mean? This is like the early 2000s. But I was getting bored at this job because I had a degree with creative skills and I was doing like admin, billing, like basically nothing with my degree. And so I couldn't really find another part-time job in the field because it was like they want you to have a certain number of years of experience. And I had work experience, a lot of work experience, but not design experience or whatever. So I decided to start freelancing and I would work for anyone who would pay me. And within the first 9 months, I was charging $20 an hour. It's a whole thing. But I was working for anyone who would pay me. And eventually I landed a gig about 9 months later where I was going to be doing monthly work for a local shop. And so that was kind of the courage or like the steadiness I needed in income to quit my job and then go full time in the business. And I will just also say, my intention was never to be a bazillionaire. It was just to literally get paid to be creative and take my kids to and from school because they go to school from 8 to 3 and most jobs are 8 to 5 and it just does not make sense. So that's how I got my start.
I love it. That's a great story. And I love, as someone else who had sort of their university or college experience interrupted by having a child, you can do the math too. My daughter's 25 this year. I have 2 little grandsons, which I absolutely love.
Aww.
But yeah, I mean, even that in itself is quite a journey to be able to be a mom and be a student all at the same time. Like that in itself is tricky.
Yeah. Were you working at the same time too?
Yes, part-time, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot. I know. So that
Yeah.
was my start, like 12 years ago, which is bananas to think that I've been in business this long.
I know, right? That's amazing.
Mhm.
That's really
Yeah.
incredible. I absolutely love that. I think that's absolutely remarkable. What do I want to ask you next? Like, there's actually so many questions in my head. Tell us about, what is your experience, through the 12 years growing this business? What's changed or shifted for you?
Yeah. So many things changed or shifted. I would say, like, the first couple of years, I was very much steadily going to local networking events where I live. I live in Des Moines, Iowa. It's not a big city. It's
Okay.
not a small city either. People think that we live in like a cornfield. I live in the actual city, and so I was going to networking events and just like meeting people. So eventually, I was working with the flower shop, a yoga studio, a credit union, medical consulting company, and just a lot of different businesses,
Yeah.
either like on an ongoing basis or just like most of it was just like when they needed work, so very project based. And by the hour, I was charging $50 an hour a couple years in. 2012 rolls around in 2013, and I start learning about like Amy Porterfield and like what she's doing. And then I'm finding out, I'm just like seeing what's out there and like going, and like I'm showing that to my clients, not really knowing anything about funnels or courses or anything. And like then
Yeah.
I took courses, met people, and this story is a really funny one. I again, when you do courses, when you
Yeah.
join programs, you meet a lot of people, and I never had the intention on this happening, but um, I took a Facebook marketing course with Amy Porterfield, and she liked my business page. And this
Oh,
is 2012. It's so dorky. I posted on Facebook that she liked my page with a picture of the fact that she had liked it. And there was a person who liked that picture when I had tagged her. I don't know if I tagged her or what happened.
yeah.
And I just sent them a friend request. This was like May 2013. December 13 rolls around. This person posts like, I'm looking for a graphic designer.
Hmm.
And they're like, DM me or get a hold of me. So I'm like, hi, I'm a graphic designer. I sent them a DM, and there were two projects available. One was for like a new skincare line that was going to launch. I went through the whole like free mock-up process. I didn't get that gig, but the gig I did get happened to be a project for Amy Porterfield's first course, FB Influence, and it was her sales page.
Wow.
So I wasn't working directly with her. I didn't know the project was for her, and I like to be very clear about that. But then after a couple of sales pages I'm working on with this person who was like running kind of behind the scenes of like Amy's business and like Lewis Howes back in the day, um, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm really good at this sales page thing, but I have all these clients who are nice and like they pay me when they need me, but like I can make more money doing this. Like what do I do? And so the story that happened in January was that I was on a hot seat with um, a person who's was in Amy's orbit. I don't know if they're still friends or whatever, but my question was like, what do I do? I have all these great clients. The work is great. They're easy to work with. They pay me on time, but like I'm doing this sales page thing now, and I didn't even know that this was a thing. Like, what do I do? And this person's response was, I would love to hire you. And that literally
Oh,
turned
wow.
into doing sales pages for this person, being a launch manager for this person, and then them referring me to everyone in their Rolodex. So doing sales pages for everyone. So by May of 2014, I had my first 5K month. And I, again, preface that to say, like, that might be a lot of money for you. It might not be a lot of money for you. For me, it was more than I had ever made because I wasn't ever working full time. I was working
Yeah.
around my kids' schedule for school and stuff like that. And that was my goal. I didn't need to have a big income because I live in Iowa and I had a partner with a steady job.
Right.
So um, I could work and kind of be a stay at home mom. I was never a stay at home mom, but I like to preface that just because I know that some people don't have
No,
that privilege and it is.
I
But it's a whole
appreciate
thing. You
that.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like what you said. Like, if $5,000 a month is a lot for you or not, like,
Yeah.
but I think what I take away from that is that
Mm-hmm.
the universe kind of led you in a
Mm-hmm.
direction just simply because you kind of put it out there. Well, I kind of
Yeah.
like this
And
work. Like, I love that. I think that's really interesting.
yeah, no. So this was May 2014, and by the end of the year, this person, it was James Wedmore. I don't like to name drop, but
Yeah.
like that was almost 10 so I can do that now. He was like, I would love for you to be like work with me exclusively, like
Mm.
on his team. And so
Wow.
I did that. I did that for about a year. And then I was like, I want to work with other clients. Like I was at his office and like Hillary Rushford stopped by and they were talking about all these cool events they were going to and what they were doing. And I was like, I really want to work with other clients. So he and I continued to work together. I was managing all of his launches. I was doing his sales pages, hiring teams, like a lot of different strategy.
Wow.
Like, again, obviously he's the marketing brain and I was not, but to see behind the scenes when he was going from like a 7-figure earner to like, getting multiple 6-figure launches was it was a really cool thing to see. And
Yeah,
like,
I bet.
he was the YouTube guy, and then he switched from that to Business by Design. So the beta version of Business by Design was like one of the last projects I did with him, and so that was 2016. So I was still working with a lot of different clients on launch strategy. I tried launch management for like one other client that was actually his client, and I left after 2 weeks because that was a bad deal. It just wasn't a good fit for me,
Yeah.
and I walked away from a lot of money with that. But so yeah, I've been doing steadily sales pages and launch strategy management from like 2015 to 2017. I started doing my own launches where I was doing webinars to help freelance designers grow their business. So I had 3 rounds of a mastermind, 2 or 3 rounds of an accelerator. I tried, and I had another course I launched called Conversion Design School that no longer, I don't sell it anymore. And then I would just kind of realize that the thing that always made me the most happy, the most profit, and was the easiest thing to do was A, mentoring the graphic designers, and B, doing the actual design work. You know what I mean? Because
I love
if you look
that.
at doing a one-on-one service compared to a launch, um, it's it's like catch-22. Like with a launch, like you're growing your audience and you're showing off your skills and you're getting new clients into your program or course or whatever it is, and then but you're doing all that work up front without necessarily a guarantee of the
Yeah,
money. When
that's
you're
true.
working with a service, you don't have to do the work until you're paid. So it's like people are always like, which one should I do? And I'm like, well, these are kind of the different things you have to consider. And like, you're not going to get the multi-bazillion dollar results you want from your very first launch. Some people are lucky and it happens for them, but you have to have a big audience. And I just realized I wanted to only do services. Then 2020 rolls around. Like we all have things that happen in business. I ended up having to take a step back. I had a really good Q1 2020, even like into April. And then my dad was like sick. He had heart failure and kidney failure and a bunch of different things for a long time. And it got to the point to where I had to take care of him medically because my little sister, who would have probably otherwise stepped up and done that, was going through breast cancer. She's fine now.
Oh my
But it
goodness,
was just
that's a
kind of a lot.
lot.
And I had to, yeah, it is a lot. And my son was graduating high school. It was the pandemic. So I just had to like take a really big step back from the business because I was the one with the flexible hours in the schedule to be able to do that. And like, I'm not going to not take care of my dad. You know what I
Of
mean? And
course
so even though
not.
I don't feel,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, so long story short, I literally had said by the end of 2021, I was like, I'm done with sales pages for now. And so what I've been doing is going back to like the things that I could do that didn't really require a lot of mental output, which was more like freelance design work, which sounds silly, but I found that specializing in sales pages was really, really good while it was good until I wanted to do other things. Um, and I started doing those other things again, kind of starting out from scratch again, because I had only done sales pages for so long.
Right.
And when you're working with when you're outside of the online space, corporations and nonprofits don't even know what a landing page is. So
Yeah,
my
right.
portfolio is full of multiple sales pages that have made probably almost 8 figures in revenue. I haven't ever totaled it up, but the corporation in New York City doesn't know
No.
what that is.
No.
So I'm really focused on, I've spent a couple years just like beta testing and going in behind the scenes, of doing like branding design projects, web design projects, some social impact strategy. And so I'm really leaning into a couple more years of doing that, just outwardly, and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, because I've been doing it behind the scenes, to learn like what I liked, what I didn't like, and just kind of, I feel like 2023 is the year I am starting a new job.
Yeah.
With all this experience I've gathered and knowing more about myself and what I want, and I'm like in it, and it's a very vulnerable thing, because like, okay, I hired Sarah 𝐭𝐻𝐢𝐬𝐚 for a strategy session. She's a brilliant branding designer. She does like more than she design, but she's like really brilliant at that, and she's very successful. And I just like was like, okay, I'm getting bored. Like, what do I do? I don't want to do. I don't want to be. I want to work in other industries.
Yeah.
And she was confused as to why I didn't want to do sales pages anymore. And so it's really funny when I tell that story. So she kind of helped me realize that, like, I want to take the skills I have,
yeah,
and like the results I have for my clients, and apply that to different industries. And so I've been doing that, and want to continue to do that. So
I love that.
I know that was a really, really long, quick story of my story, but here we are.
No, but like you said in the beginning, we all have an incredible story, an incredible journey that we've been on. And what I really heard through all of that was just this theme of like reinvention, this theme of resilience. I also think it's important, Melissa, to highlight that you did have to shift your priorities for a period of time. Of course, you had to take care of your ailing father. Of course, you needed to be there for your sick sister, right? Of course, you wanted to be there to support your graduating son. I mean, we spend so much time on our businesses, but our families are really important to us too. And we have to be able to shift when they need us the most.
Yeah, I know. I'm really looking for the magic pill that helps you separate the work and the non-work stuff, because I have not mastered that
well
yet.
So okay,
yeah.
you open the door, so I'm going to step through it. So I would propose to you a slightly different perspective. What, instead of separating the two, what if you could blend them more effectively? And that's the conversation I have with so many of the female entrepreneurs that I work with, is not this idea of separation, or even this idea of work-life balance, because that gives us the false impression that everything has to be equal all the time. And it's not. You totally just articulated that. It's not equal all the time. It's got to be able to shift and change and grow as we grow, as our ideas grow and change, as the market grows and changes, as we learn and we become interested in new things. We have to be able to blend our work and our life together, because we have other roles other than small business CEO. We're the CEO of our family often. I mean, those things come into conflict, but if we can blend them together, how much more effective and fulfilled can we feel in both spaces? So that's what I would say.
Yeah. No, and I like the reframe there, because I think that because I'm like a high achieving person and want to do a good job, I think I need to just be nicer to myself. That's probably what it is. But just like, that's just me being human,
Oh my goodness. I think that's such a beautiful point. We just need to be nicer to ourselves. We need to have patience and kindness and empathy for ourselves the same way we would offer it to our dearest friend. I love that. I love that. Okay, this is absolutely such a brilliant conversation. So we're going to talk for a minute now about Melissa's leadership style. So just like all of you, Melissa's taken my leadership style quiz. If you haven't taken it yet, go to the link in the show notes. Go to highvoltageleadership.ca. There's a little orange button at the top of the page. It says take the quiz. You can do it right now. It takes 2 minutes. It's going to give you an idea of what kind of leader you are, what kind of style you have. And I'm also going to send you some of my top tips so you can be a more effective leader today. So Melissa, what's your leadership style, and how does that show up for you, and how you create a work and life blend?
Director. I am a director. I've been a director since the day I was born. When I saw that, I was like, I knew. Director. So The way that that shows up for me is like, I like to be, and I want to just preface this by saying that when I was going from like sales page designer to launch manager, like I didn't know that project management was a skill or a talent. I didn't even,
Okay.
no one told me in school that you could get paid really good to work for a corporation or whoever to do that. And so the
Interesting.
way that, like if I look at my whole life and the things that I do, everything makes more sense now as to how my brain works. So
I
like
love it.
I get more fulfilled when I am giving directions to someone and then letting them kind of take on the project. So like I have a podcast, for example, and everything is so automated. There's one thing that you and I have had a conversation about that I want to just like tighten up because it's giving me a little bit of anxiety. But
Yes.
every week when it comes to publishing the podcast,
Yeah,
my team knows exactly what to do and I don't have to do anything.
I love
Like I
it.
have to review. I always
Yeah,
review the podcast before it goes live, and
yeah.
I'm the one that actually hits publish just because it's a creative control thing I have. But like they get to kind of step into their power. I've kind of set the stage for how we're going to do something, and then it just kind of happens. So like I don't care
Love
if
it.
you write my show notes at 4 in the morning or at 2 p.m. tomorrow. You know what needs to be
Yeah,
done. You have a backlog of interviews we can pull from,
yeah.
and then we publish every week so that we're not inundated with it. So for me, it's like I like to give people the opportunity. And I learned a lot of this from James, honestly, like back when I was working with him. I mean, his leadership style is probably completely different now, but like when you let people kind of shine like where their
Yes.
skills are and like and I like to always ask, like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? I need help with this. Like, how could we reimagine this? And
Yeah.
so I was talking to my notes writer about like, so I was like, we've had two different style guests on in the last couple of weeks. One interview was recorded a while ago. One of them is more recent. What do you think? And the thing she said to me was like, stop apologizing for talking about yourself on your own podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a really powerful thing to come from this little brilliant, like 20 something, early 20 something
Yeah,
to
right?
tell me this, but she knows my podcast. She knows me. She understands me. So for her to tell me, because I'm always apologizing for like bringing myself into the conversation because I don't want to make it about me. I'm not like looking
Yeah,
for that attention.
right.
But again, I've opened up the door for the conversation to happen. So
100%.
whether
Yes.
it's like picking up the groceries and then my husband and son come and help me put them away, or it's like we are running a youth football fundraiser and I've got this person do this person do this. I'm good at directing. Like I was born
Yeah.
this way. So in my business, it comes very naturally to me, and I'm very grateful for the skill. Although it really annoys my family.
Okay, so actually, I think you, without even intending to, you brought up a really great point, which is directing. Yes. Are you good at giving directions? Are you the project manager? Actually, I love that you have two sides to you, like this very creative side and then this very organized, straight line, sequential side. Like, what a cool combination of skill you have, Melissa. But you
Thank you.
also brought in this idea of being supportive and delegative, right? Like, yes, you give your directive, you give great directions, and then you delegate very well, it sounds like, and then you support people in moving through how that actually happens. And in fact, that's a great point because we have to be situational in our leadership. We actually have to be able to move through all of these styles, right? We call out
Yeah.
one that we sort of are most comfortable with, but it's when we can use all of these things in our leadership that we're really effective in our business.
Yeah. And I think too, giving yourself permission, because like when I say director, I didn't even bring this up, and that's probably what I should have mentioned. But like when I'm working on a design project,
Yeah.
I'm not just doing the design. And that was part of the reason why I didn't want to do sales pages anymore, was because I was helping my clients with the content they were going to teach in their course.
Yeah.
We were reviewing the copy. We
Beautiful.
were doing usability, we were talking about how they can add more money to the strategy. Like
Yeah.
I have experience on the front end, the back end, the forward end. Like I have experience on all
I
of these
love it.
launches. And my clients have made a lot of money. So I was giving them the entire kitchen sink, but only charging for the faucet. But I
Yeah.
like to be able to look at all of the creative elements of a launch because things are more connected that way.
Yes.
And that's where I feel like my director hat, I like shine the most,
Oh,
especially
I'm
in the business.
sure.
The podcast example was just like
No.
a systems thing. But I feel like that's where I've learned that like you can't put me in a category of a project manager, or you can't put me in a category of a sales page designer, because we're doing everything else too.
Yeah, no, I love that. I really, really love that. That's just such a great way to talk about, how we really embrace leadership in our business, right? And how we can really leverage all of our skills and experience, right? And I love, like, backward, forward. I love side to side. I love that sort of visual. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Melissa, I want to ask you next about, what are some mistakes you've made along the way? Where have you screwed it up, and what have you learned?
Oh my God, there's so many things. I think that one mistake I have made in a general sense in my business journey is I have not asked for things as often as I have given them.
Well, that's a very
I so
interesting way
what
to put it.
when I say that, what I mean is I feel like I have given a lot of support and a lot of like client referrals. And I'm not talking about like my audience, I'm talking
Right.
about people I have like relationships with, so like my fellow peers. I don't think I've done a very good job of asking for things when I needed them.
Interesting.
I feel like I've been more of a giver than a taker. And so I'm planning to start taking more. When I say taking more, I'm just going to be like, hey, I'm doing this new thing. Let me know if you know somebody.
Yeah.
Not in like a selfish way, but like, okay, like one, I was working with a client one time. Here's an example. And I was testing out having like an agency for launches. So I took on two different sales page copywriting clients. This was back in 2016 when there were only like, not that many influencers, big
Mm,
name thought leaders. I don't even know what we're calling these people because they're like,
right.
anyways,
Yes.
there were only a few of them out there, and a few of them were my clients. So like it was a very high touch process. And so you
Right.
don't just want to let anybody in.
Yeah.
You want someone kind of at your level. So we worked on like three projects, and I posted in the B School Facebook group at the time. It's not called that anymore. And it said, hey, I'm just looking for copywriters. These are the type of people I work with. And I brought the copywriting in-house, meaning I paid a copywriter their fee, and then I upcharged,
Right. Yeah.
my fee. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know that that was when I first started, so I like to be clear. And so my copywriter ended up getting invited to speak on my client's stage at their live event. They happened to live in like a couple of hours away from that person, and I didn't get the opportunity. They did, I
Oh,
think, probably just due to proximity. So I think that, and she's gone on to do really well. We're still friends,
yeah.
but what I'm saying is I think that my connections, I need to do a better job of asking for things that I've been giving, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think, for myself, and as well as, the other female entrepreneurs that I work with, I do think we need, you said it right from the start. We need to be better at asking for what we really need and what we really want. We need to be more
Mhm.
articulate about stating what it is we are, what our goals are, how people can help us get there, what we're looking for in terms of partnerships, relationships, collabs, all of those things. We need to
Yeah,
own our value. What you
yeah,
said, give away the kitchen sink, only charge for the faucet. Like, it's hard sometimes to ask for what you're worth. I think it's something we can
yeah,
all do more effectively.
yeah. And I think too that was more tricky for me, the faucet like
Yeah,
ratio with like
100%.
my sales pages, because I think I felt like people thought, and I could be mistaken by this, but I'm trying to, like, my perception is that people saw my sales page service as like a luxury service. That's what I was told it was, and we always provided a really good experience, and I'm really
Yeah,
proud of that. And I think people came back to me because of that, not
sure
really
they
because of
did.
the design work. Like the design work was kind of an afterthought. It was the experience. But I was kind of at the high end of the spectrum
Yeah,
there with what I was charging. So
totally.
um, I think that people thought I was unattainable for that. So it was just like, okay, good to like press pause. I will do sales pages now, but it will just be a part of a bigger launch strategy
Fair
package
enough.
where I'm doing the entire branding of
Yeah.
everything. So that to me feels really good and like more aligned for kind of where I want to take my business.
Yeah. You know what? And again, I think you make such a brilliant point through this whole journey that you always have the opportunity to reinvent. You always have the opportunity to shift and change your business. in a way that feels more deeply aligned, a way that honors your values, a way that allows you to blend work and life. You get to do that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we start these beautiful businesses is we want that freedom. We want
Yeah.
that flexibility. And you just need to give it to yourself. You just need to give yourself permission to do those things. And then when you do, you feel awesome about it. You do great work. And your clients are happy and they come back just like yours do, Melissa. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, they did for sales pages, but I'm not really doing them anymore. So it's been different to kind of put yourself out there and be like, hey, I'm doing this now. Do you want to work together? Actually, I haven't really done that. It's so
Well, look for Melissa.
But I
look for Melissa to do that soon.
Yeah. So yeah. I'm actually like making reels. It's both fun and embarrassing at the same time. So.
And the truth is, as long as you're having fun, and you're enjoying the work you do and the clients you're working with, and you know what? It sounds like there's kind of new passion, like renewed passion in it for you, Melissa, which is so awesome.
100%. But it took a long time to get there, and I don't want to downplay what it was. It was definitely 2 years of, I would say probably more like 4 or 5 years of moving past like business relationships I had that were like great, that I thought were like dreamy and ideal, to only now look back and be like, I was probably being manipulated. I probably gave them way too much, but wasn't charging enough. I didn't get paid for that project in full. I walked away from a couple big projects, which we could have a whole other conversation about, but I'm really proud of myself for doing that, even though it hurt me financially. And then having, launch plans for a certain program that I had, and then just like one launch I made no money from, another launch I had to cancel because of like what was going on in the world. It got to be too much. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm good.
I love it.
Going back to the.
Yeah, no, but I think, again, and this is why women entrepreneurs listen to this show, because each one of us have had such a unique journey. And there are so many women out there that have had a similar experience, not exactly the same, but similar, Melissa, where, you've had to walk away from a bad business deal or a client that you just couldn't work with, and you weren't going to make them happy. You got to walk away from it. And you always get the opportunity, if nothing else, to really hold tight to your values and really stay true to your purpose. And you get to continually reinvent and uncover what is it that you love to do and go get that. Right. And I think your story just sort of reinforces that. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're so nice.
Thank you. Oh, yes. This is why I love doing the show, because I get to share these incredible stories and have these conversations with amazing female founders like yourself. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today and for being a part of the show. I'm so grateful to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun.
It's absolutely been a pleasure. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I sure hope you enjoyed listening as much as I did hosting this conversation. And if you did enjoy today's episode, would you do me a favor? Would you give the episode a 5-star review and share it with all of your friends? I would really appreciate that. I've got a goal to impact 1,000 female founders, and with your help, we can really amplify this message. Thanks again for being a part of the show, and don't forget to connect with me and all of my guests on Instagram at High Volt Leadership. We'll see you next Friday.